Yo, what's up? Dr. Swole here. Today we're going to be talking about 8 habits that will change your life. I want you to imagine having a life timer on your head. It's a clock counting down all the minutes that you have left in your life. If you had this timer over your head and you were always reminded of your mortality, would you still be living the same way? Having a sense of urgency is going to be a huge driver in pushing you to optimize your life. Today we're going to be talking about some powerful habits that are going to revolutionize the way you live, your productivity, your relationships, and your overall happiness. These are all things that I've implemented that have made a massive difference for me. The first habit is reading. Remember the original Mario Bros game where Mario's running around and he jumps up and hits this invisible question mark box? It was basically a surprise box that you couldn't see, but if you knew it was there, you could hit it. When he does that, this beanstalk grows out of that mystery box all the way up into the sky. Mario climbs that beanstalk into this heavenland where there's unlimited money and a transport that takes you across the level and basically skips it. By knowing exactly that one spot to hit, you could basically skip the whole level and get a whole bunch of cash. Ultimately, it was a cheat code to the level, and this is how I see reading. When you are reading a book, you're basically reading a cheat code that someone else has laid out for you that's taken them years to figure out themselves. Imagine how much trial and error it would take to find that little magical box throughout the entire level just by jumping around randomly. This is one thing I'm actually grateful to the lockdown for because it got me back into reading. Now, one of the first things people are going to say is that I don't have time to read. And I see that. What I'd recommend is that you actually read audiobooks. Audiobooks will allow you to consume the same content while doing other things, like laundry, dishes, or going to work, things that you would have to do anyways. In terms of some book recommendations to get you started, one of the first books I'd recommend reading is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book covers some really foundational strategies and is my favorite book for self-improvement. Second one would be 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene. This one explains some really powerful aspects of human nature and will help you to get what you want but also defend against manipulation. Finally, Mindset by Carol Dweck is a really great read and basically introduces you to the growth mindset, the understanding that you're able to improve yourself in all aspects of your life. So I'd recommend getting started with audiobooks. I use Audible personally. There will be some cost to it, but I think this is totally worth it. And honestly, one of the greatest investments that I've made in the last few years. Beginning with the goal of 1 book per month would be a good starting place. I'm currently aiming for 1 book a week or 52 books a year. Now, the second life-changing habit we're going to be talking about today is learning from YouTube and podcasts. In other words, we're trying to leverage learning through audio and visual. As a YouTuber with a subscriber count in the 6 figures, I know that it takes a lot of effort, research, and skill to make good videos. And since there's so much competition on YouTube right now, there's actually some really well-made content. We live in this amazing time where you're able to have pocket mentors. You can basically learn anything about whatever you want from the best people at it in the world. YouTube and podcasts are nice because they're a bit more of a digestible format than reading. So what I'd recommend is have 2 or 3 topics that you're currently interested in. Go out and find the best podcasts in those niches and start learning. Similar to what I said about audiobooks, the power of YouTube and podcast learning is that you can do it passively. You can throw on an educational YouTube while you're eating a meal, instead of watching useless TV shows or scrolling aimlessly on your phone. I basically built my entire YouTube business while working as a full-time doctor off of the knowledge that I gained from audiobooks, YouTube videos, and podcasts. I set aside specific times of the day where I'll learn about certain topics. So first thing in the morning while I'm brushing my teeth, I'm always going to be listening to YouTubers talking about the latest marketing and business tactics. When I'm driving to work, I'll listen to science-based fitness podcasts. This is where I keep up to date with my bodybuilding knowledge. And while I'm at the gym, I'll listen to audiobooks. Think about this as going to school. You always had a certain set of courses that you would always attend at certain times of the week. For example, Monday at 8 a.m. would be math class, and at 9 a.m. you would have English class. And you want to see yourself as a lifelong learner. Ultimately, these small incremental changes are going to add up to massive differences, and you are just going to be light years ahead of the competition. The third life-changing habit we're going to be talking about today is asking people for advice. When I was in med school, I used to work out at this little gym in our alumni building, and it would be full of other medical students and doctors. I'd make it a point of meeting the other medical students there, and for all the med students who are more senior to me, I would ask them for advice. Even though some of those guys were going for different specialties than I was, I gained this massive repertoire of knowledge and tips, and I was able to figure out my own strategy which worked like a charm. Keep an eye out for people who have more experience than you and ask them for advice. I had this funny story from being in Vegas where we were at this nightclub and I was talking to this older guy and asked him, "Hey man, do you have any advice for a young guy like me?" He laughed and said, "I think I should be asking you for advice for the success you've had." But the point I'm trying to emphasize here is that you always want to be humble and to be looking for ways to improve. When I was younger, I didn't really care for the opinions of older people, but now I'm realizing that you can learn a lot from their wisdom. Asking for advice for people actually does two things. First of all, you're going to be gaining tips from people that you can eventually use to improve yourself. But second of all, it actually will also make them like you more. This is a psychological hack where people tend to like those that they help themselves. So for example, if I am mentoring a med student, I'm more likely to like them and they are more likable because of that. So this is actually a really good strategy for bonding with potential mentors. You can ask people for advice in all realms. If you don't have something specific to ask about, you can always just ask for general life advice, or dating advice is always fun. Dating advice is actually something I've particularly learned a lot from older guys more lately. And this is very important because in dating, you make some very permanent decisions relatively early in your life. People get married to the wrong person early on, and this causes them a lot of problems later down the line. Asking older people who have seen the whole spectrum of relationships and perhaps made some big mistakes or gotten divorced themselves, when you talk to older people, you will draw on their breadth of experience, seeing all the relationships they and their friends have had and all of the mistakes they've made themselves. I've actually learned a lot from guys who have gotten divorced and having them outline the pitfalls that you can then avoid. The fourth life-changing habit is seeking new connections. Making a habit of actively seeking new connections is going to be revolutionary for you. First of all, this is really going to broaden your social network. When you get used to talking to random people and making connections, you're going to end up having a very broad network of people that you're going to be able to choose from to make your inner circle. Everyone says that you're the sum of the people you spend the most time with, and the cheat code here is that you're able to actively go out and curate that inner group of people. If you never go out and meet new people and you're just sticking with the same friends you've had since high school, you're never going to broaden your perspectives and improve in general. This doesn't mean that you have to trash all of your old connections, but by constantly meeting new people, you're going to open the door to new ones. Next, by meeting new people, you're going to expose yourself to a lot of new perspectives. You want to be constantly reinventing yourself so that when you meet people that you haven't seen for a long time, they comment on how much you've changed and how much you've improved. What I'd recommend is that when you're at a party, make it a point of actually introducing yourself, getting to know something about that person, and getting their contact information. Nowadays with Instagram, this is easier than ever, so you can just add each other on Instagram and then stay in touch. When you meet a person who's actually interesting, actually make an effort to invite them out to something, whether it's getting coffee or inviting them to a group hangout. Okay, the fifth habit that's going to change your life is to stop caring about what other people think. This is really difficult because in our current society, everyone is always trying to one-up each other and compare themselves to others. You want to think about living life authentically. That is, living in a way that is true to yourself. One way to think about this is that someone has to earn the right for you to actually consider their opinion. For myself, there are still people whose opinions I respect, but it's a very small group of people. And I've had to teach myself to tune out all the haters in the comments online. I was at my birthday party last year and I had a friend who came out and said something that really changed the way I look at haters. He was an old classmate from med school and he said, "Bill, I ran into this person who was actually one of our other med school classmates. We ended up talking about you and they started hating on your social media." Here my friend paused and he said, "At this point, I knew Bill made it." And that's a really powerful way to look at haters. When people are taking the energy out of their day to actually hate on you or write comments like that, they're proving that you've made such an impact on them that they're willing to go and put in that time and energy into writing that comment. I want you to go out and chase your dreams unapologetically. At the beginning, people might not see the vision, but as the years go by, eventually you're going to reach such a magnitude of success that it will be undeniable. Now, the sixth life-changing habit today is being present. Technology has made our life so fast-paced that people are always looking to the next thing or reflecting on the past. But ultimately, life is all about the present moment. You're living life now in the moment, and 10 years from now, you're still going to be living in the now. Learning how to connect with the moment will make you a lot happier, reduce anxiety, and also improve your relationships. Here are a couple of tips that you can implement today. Meditation is something that always comes up with this, and basically meditation is the practice of becoming present. Meditation is one way to practice this. I know this can be time consuming for some people and you're probably busy, but one thing that I've tried is to listen to guided meditations before going to sleep. This is a good time to do it because being present in the time before bed is going to be great for stopping yourself from ruminating and actually getting to sleep. Next tip for becoming present is to really engage deeply in conversation. I'm working with one of my favorite radiologists on night shifts this week, and one of the really powerful things he does is that he engages fully in conversation with you. So when you're talking to him, you feel like you and him are the only things that exist in the universe. Learning how to engage deeply in conversation will make you more present, but it will also make you have much deeper connections, and this will lead to huge success in relationships and business. What I want you to focus on is when you're talking to someone, really give them your undivided attention, make strong eye contact, and really consider everything they say before actually formulating what you're going to say to them. If you feel like you're in a conversation that you don't want to be in, then still be engaged for that short period of time, but then excuse yourself early. You're much better off having short but engaged interactions than longer interactions where you're only half present. Now, in terms of becoming more present in the moment, one other tactic that you can use is to connect with your 5 senses. When you're walking down the street, for example, can you smell the grass and the trees? Listen to the sounds around you, whether it be cars running or birds chirping. Becoming more present is going to be a game changer, but it's one that's going to take work and practice. Okay, the 7th life-changing habit we're going to be talking about today is curating your social media feed. This is an underrated one, but your social media feed is just like the people that you surround yourself with, and the content you consume has a huge impact on your trajectory in life. Nowadays, people spend hours every day on social media, and most of it is just empty content or comparing themselves to other people. I want you to go through your feed right now and actively unfollow people who are posting things that are unproductive to you. Your feed should only consist of A, the people that you truly want to follow, and B, people who add value to your life in some way. This value will ideally come from education, motivation, or inspiration. Go out and follow people who are actually posting this type of value-adding content. By using social media to your advantage, you're going to be making use of all those hours you're spending on it every week. The 8th habit we're going to be talking about today is expressing affection. This was something that was bigger for me coming from an Asian background where families don't really express that much affection verbally. But I think this is something that's becoming more and more common in society nowadays where people feel like they need to be cool and aloof. And that by expressing affection for someone, you're somehow lowering your own value. When you see your family, make it a habit of just saying a quick love you when you see them. And when you're with a close friend, you can say, I appreciate you because X. And there you can insert something meaningful that you actually respect about them. Fostering this kind of positivity in your relationships is going to make for much deeper connections and will ultimately lead you to being more satisfied and fulfilled in life. So those were our 8 habits. Hopefully you can start implementing those today. What's another life-changing habit that you would recommend to other people? Let us know in the comments below. If you're really trying to optimize your life, check out this video where I talk about 10 habits that are ruining your life. These are going to get in the way of you reaching elite levels of success. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to transform your life, and we'll see you next time.